I'm gonna tell you 4 reasons why you will marry the wrong person. Now, there are millions of people who go into a marriage thinking that they remarrying the right person only to find out down the road that their spouse wasn't right for them after all. And it's not always an easy thing to spot before you get married. So here are 4 signs that can help you figure out whether or not you actually marrying the right person. 1, they've changed their ways just for you. A lot of times when we meet someone that we really like, we want them to be perfect. We want them to be more than perfect. We want them to be right for us. And so what ends up happening is that we look at these little red flags, and instead of seeing a red flag, we see a green flag. Okay? Because if we were to point out that red flag, then that would be a deal breaker. So we look at the red flag and we say, well, maybe it's just a green flag waving in the wind. Maybe I can change them. Maybe I can work with them. I can love them enough that they can make that change. Now, the thing about meeting somebody who you really vibe with is that you want them to be the best person that they could ever be. And sometimes that's not the person that you meet right away. Sometimes you meet them and you see a bunch of things that they need to work on. But instead of pointing those things out and making it a deal breaker, you ignore them. Why? Because you're in love. You don't want to hurt their feelings. Or worse yet, maybe you don't even think that they'll take you seriously. You do and want them to think that you too critical, or you're being too picky, or you're trying to make them feel bad. So you sweep it under the rug and you say, oh, well, we'll talk about that later. Once we're married, then we can work through that stuff. That's not the way that relationships work. If somebody is unwilling to change before your marriage, there is a good chance that they're just going to continue doing that behavior once you remarried, and now it's even harder to leave because you remarried. So if you're redating someone right now and they've made changes in their life that are directly related to you, that's a sign that you should be careful. If they're willing to change their ways just for you, that's a very good sign that they're not marrying you for you, but instead marrying you because they want to change their life. No. 2, they only talk about themselves. There's something that happens in a relationship where if one person is constantly talking about themselves, it creates a disconnection between the two. The reason why this works is because when you ask someone a question, they naturally will talk about themselves because they assume that you care about them. If you're asking them questions, they assume that you care about them, and therefore they share more about themselves. And that's great. That's a good foundation. But what happens is one person starts to dominate the conversation, and there is no room for the other person. When we enter a relationship, both sides should be able to talk about themselves. Both sides should be able to express how they feel and listen to each other. When one person dominates the conversation and makes everything about them, it doesn't allow space for the other person to grow in the relationship. They can't contribute anything. It becomes less of a team effort and more of me over you. So if you're dating someone right now and you notice that they always dominate the conversation, you always have to try to guide the conversation back to yourself. They never ask you any questions. All they do is they talk about their day, their job, their family, their friends. It's a C. That's a sign that they might not be marrying you for you. No. 3, they don't know how to say no. Saying no is an important skill for everybody to learn. Most people struggle with saying no, and that's okay. It's hard to say no, especially if you're a people pleaser. But if your partner doesn't know how to say no, that's a problem. This can manifest in many different ways. One of them being that they're always doing favors for people, which may sound nice, but it becomes an issue when they're constantly doing favors for people and never taking time for themselves, never prioritizing their own needs. Another example of this would be that they can't say no to social events, which means that they're always busy and unavailable. Then when they are available, they're resentful because they didn't get any time for themselves. Saying no is an important skill in relationships because it allows you to set boundaries, which is something that all healthy relationships need. If you date someone who doesn't know how to say no, it's likely that once you get married, they'll still have that same problem, which means that you'll be left with all the responsibility to say no and set boundaries, which is unfair to you. And finally, number 4, they never ask questions. A relationship is a team effort. Both parties need to put an effort in order for it to thrive. Communication is key, and communication requires both parties to speak and both parties to listen. If you're dating someone who never asks questions, they never show interest in what's going on in your life, that's a major red flag. Relationships are a team effort, and if one person isn't putting in the effort, then it's not a partnership. If you notice that your partner never asks questions, they never seem interested in what's going on in your life, that's a sign that they aren't marrying you for you. They're marrying you because they want to get married. So if you're redating someone right now and you feel like they might not be marrying you for you, what are you going to do about it? Well, the first step is to recognize the signs. Those are the 4 signs that you should be looking out for. If you notice that your partner has some of these traits, it's likely that they won't be a good fit for you in the long run. So the best thing to do is to either change these behaviors or move on. Changing someone is not an easy task, especially if they don't want to change. So it's important to be realistic and honest with yourself. If your partner is unwilling to change, then you shouldn't force them to. You should respect their decision and move on. On the other hand, if they are willing to change, then you should support them every step of the way. Be patient and understanding, and don't expect them to change overnight. Changing takes time and effort, but it's definitely possible. Remember, you deserve to be with someone who wants to be with you for you, not for who you could be or who they want you to be. So if you're feeling unsure about your relationship, trust your gut. Listen to the advice of those around you, and don't settle for someone who isn't right for you. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit that like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We post new videos every single day. And if you want to watch more videos like this one, you can click the video on screen now. Have a great day.